hitting the record button. I will be posting this webinar on my website, so I will give you that location so you can go out and take a look at it a little bit later. Well, welcome to 2018. I hope you're off to a great start. I was talking business planning with a group of agents yesterday, and I want to tell you what, you can close more deals with RPR. I just really believe that. RPRs, I can just trace so many transactions that literally I've been able to close using RPR. Now, I've been selling real estate since 1978 at the age of 18. So you can do the math. I've been a salesperson, I've been a manager, I've been a broker owner, sold my company in 2006. I won't bore you with that. I know it was right before the downturn, but took a job in the banking field and found out the bank I went to work for was on this thing called the watch list. And anyway, my banking career was real short, and I thought the grass was greener on the other side of the hill. But lo and behold, I found out we are in a lush pasture right where we're at. So don't go anywhere, okay? But I'm back in the trenches. I continue to sell real estate. I have an office and agents who work for me, and I'm working with buyers and sellers every day, and loan officers and building inspectors, and I'm doing CMAs just like you. And as I mentioned, I'm closing a lot of deals with RPR. And I'll just be very frank and upfront with you. The main reason I teach RPR and do these webinars is because I believe in the system. It's not taking anything away from my MLS, but I just totally believe in the system. I think it's a great system, and I really want to share with you some of the things I'm doing with RPR. It's a getting started RPR, but I want to show you some more advanced things. Now, I just have a few PowerPoint slides, and then we'll get right in and start using RPR. But I really just quickly want to make sure there's no technical glitches. I don't see anybody that's typed anything in, so let's get started. So what is RPR? That's a question a lot of people want to know. And again, we're going to cover a lot of those things throughout the course today. I'm going to show you how to create some reports and do some interesting things. I'm a tech guy. I love technology, and I'm going to show you some really cool things. So we're going to go out into some deeper areas of RPR that are a little bit more advanced, but I think you'll do fine. And I want to tell you this, I mean this with all sincerity, anything you need more help with, you reach out to me, whether it be by phone or email. I will help you. There's no additional charge. I just love adding value, helping people. And I just believe if you give, you always receive back. So we're going to cover some of the basic stuff. I'm going to show you some advanced things. But what is RPR, and why do we have this thing? I know a lot of people say, oh, I think NAR is trying to come up with some kind of nationwide MLS, and that's not the case at all. In fact, RPR would not exist without your MLS. So we've got to get our data from somewhere, and so we get it from your MLS, so don't worry about that. But NAR started RPR. It's a wholly subsidiary corporation of NAR, and it's this national database of over 166 million U.S. properties. It's that thing called big data. I was ill just a couple of weeks ago, and I went to CVS to buy some of the cold medicine to stop you from it being really bad. I would have hated to have seen what would have happened if I hadn't taken all this pre-cold stuff. But I go to CVS and I buy this pre-flu cold sore throat stuff. And my daughter, the very next day in her Facebook feed, it pops up, "Dad not feeling well?" And it was an ad from CVS Pharmacy. Well, that's part of this big data stuff, and it's huge. And quite frankly, there have been a lot of companies and players that are providing estimated sales prices, and the unfortunate thing is a lot of them, the data is not really good, as I'll explain, or it's not as accurate as it could be. So NAR, being the great leadership we have, realized, hey, big data is here. We better get in there and bring some stability to big data and help our members with projecting CMAs and some different automated valuation models. So that's why we have RPR. It's part of a national database with lots of information. In fact, I think we get over like 365 pieces of data that goes right into the RPR database. And when I show you some of this, it just will blow your mind if you're not very, if you're not using RPR, because it's really a great tool and it's exclusively for you and I. That's the really neat thing. The public has no access to RPR. It's strictly for realtors, members of the National Association of Realtors, and there's no additional charge. You're paying for it with your dues dollars, so you should use it. The consumer has no public access to it. So it's not an MLS. Please understand that. We have to get our data from you. It's not any kind of consumer-facing business model where consumers can come and look up this information. We are not taking your data and re-syndicating it or sending it anywhere else. This is just a database for you and I, as members of the National Association of Realtors, to be able to go in, look around, and help us help our jobs so that we can price properties more effectively. We can help buyers when we're working as buyers agents and, fulfill our real fiduciary obligations and do it in a much quicker and faster way by having all of this data that's available for us. And I just want to tell you this, it works. I usually tell this story and I just kind of briefly want to explain to you because I'm driving to Columbia, Missouri, and I'm listening to a podcast. And the guy on the podcast, his name's Joe Polish. You can go look him up. He's a very famous online marketer. Started out cleaning carpets. He had a cleaning carpet business. He was trying to figure out, how can I grow my cleaning carpet business? And he ran up all his credit cards to run this business, and he really has developed some really cool systems to not only grow and become very successful with his carpet cleaning business, but now he's an online marketer and makes millions of dollars. And so I'm listening to Joe Polish being interviewed, and he's talking to this guy, and he says this statement, and it just really caught my attention. And Joe said, there's really only one difference between $1 bill and $100 bill. Well, that perked my attention up, and I'm like, well, what is it? And Joe said, it's the message. And I thought, man, that's why RPR works for me. I'm here to tell you it delivers a $100 bill message, and you will beat your competition every time. And as you can see on this page that I'm showing you, this slide down toward the bottom, it helps you stand out at listing presentations, buyer's tour, open houses. I mean, really, you can impress buyers and sellers with RPR. And to me, it's a $100 presentation. It's so much more. Now, I can research properties, I can get information, I can use it for farming. I was sharing with a group yesterday here in Destin, Florida. Was kind of interesting because I saw a property in Destin, Florida, and the agent was trying to be real clever to say, owner doesn't want their name to be listed in the MLS. In the MLS, that's what they had. But when you go into RPR, it's pulling the public records. I had the owner's name right there. And then it quickly went to LinkedIn, and within a matter of 30 seconds, I knew exactly who the owner was, who he worked for. If I wanted to try to connect with him on LinkedIn, I was within like one connection of a person who was connected with this person. So RPR is a mind-boggling tool, and you can use it in a lot of really cool ways. So I've got one more slide here, and then we're going to get right in and start looking at it. But it's important for us to understand these things called AVMs and RVMs. Oh, I'm taking you back to school, and I know you're probably saying, man, what's this all about? I hate all these kind of acronyms and things. I mean, I actually like acronyms, but, when you have to memorize too much stuff. But it's important for us to understand what an AVM is and an RVM is. Now, an AVM stands for an automated valuation model. And if you had a handbook and I was having you take notes, I would tell you to circle a key word underneath the automated valuation model. And if you've got a notepad and paper, write this down. John said, the problem with an AVM is it's just public available information. If you circle that word publicly. Now, why is that a problem? Because some states and some municipalities, such as my state in Missouri, where I'm from, we do not have we don't have to report sales to our county government. And so therefore, companies that are trying to project what a property's value is, and they're just only able to do what's called an AVM, a good example is a Zestimate. They could be not as accurate because they don't have what? They don't have access to our MLS. So that's where NAR, this is where this whole piece of the puzzle starts coming into play, is that, we started seeing as the National Association of Realtors that we've got all of this great data called the MLS, and we have access to public data like the other folks. So why don't we develop our own algorithm that would be much more powerful, much more accurate, and would help maybe bring some stability and some accuracy into this whole thing called estimated values through computer generated models, if that makes sense, okay? Now here's the the neatest part about all of this. With our RVM, we get to use our experience and knowledge of the marketplace, and we get to use our physical inspection of the property to help fine tune and come up with an accurate value. So when you couple all of that together, it is so much more accurate than an AVM on its own merits. And you and I have to talk about, I know I'm mentioning Zestimate, some of you, maybe don't like Zillow, but I'm telling you what, it's a part of our dialogue today. It's a part of my dialogue with every seller, because guess what? My sellers have gone out to Zillow and they've looked up their price of their home. And if Zillow gives it too high of a value, I got to have a real a meeting that we can understand and explain to them why that valuation may not be correct. So we'll talk about this confidence score, and I want you to, there's a slide here and you'll have access to this PowerPoint, but sometimes you may not have an RVM, and if we don't have enough good data, we're not going to try to project a price. So with that, let's get in and let's get started and go right out to the MLS, and then I'll come back and show you a few things with some slides on how to log in and so forth. Okay, so this is the main portal, which is NARRPR.com. I hope not only am I from the edge of the Ozarks, I'm also, just recouping from a cold, so I hope you can hear me okay. And I'm in Destin, Florida, and I went off and forgot my really good microphone, so I hope that this microphone's working okay and you can hear me good. But you want to go to NARRPR.com. Many of your MLSs, like my MLS, Maris, in just south of St. Louis, Missouri, we have a little button on our MLS, so I can go right into RPR from there. But NARRPR.com. Just going to draw a couple of things for you here. Let me change my colors, though, so we have something that you can see a little bit better. This right up here, you'll notice my brand or my logo is branded. If your office is just seeing your MLS, please know that your broker can have this branded for free. There's no charge. And so reach out to me and I can help you out with that. Or you can reach out to your local office, or better yet, you can come right down here to the help menu and you can get help. And there's actually, as we will go on down to the bottom of the page, you can call 365 days, 7 days a week. And I will point that out, and we'll actually go down there right now because I think that's real important. They are located in Omaha, Nebraska, and they are just some great folks. So if you ever need to call them, it's right down here. They can walk you through that and have your broker get started with that. So let's kind of get started on this first page. Now I want to show you a couple of things, and this is where I do most of my work, right here in this middle bar, okay? You know, I'll be honest with you, I do click the reports from occasionally. I probably never click this button, and I never click this button, and I do select the home screen, but most of my work's right in here, okay? Right up here, I'll show you at the conclusion. This is where you'll go set up and add some things. And you do have access to the commercial side. We don't cover that in this course, but you can click on the commercial button, go right there. You will not see data tools because that's for me as a broker. And then, so most of this other stuff you can actually take a look at. I will tell you that down here below, try to erase my drawings. You'll notice that there's recent properties right here and recent searches that are available and recent reports. This is kind of handy, and you'll notice that we have lots of mobile things you'll be able to see, but a lot of times I'll pull a property up on my computer and I'll do research, and then when I'm out in the field I can use my recent button to pull that up on my mobile phone. Vice versa, same thing happens if we want to, if we're out in the field and we pull a property up and then we come back to the office. I'll show you that. You can see, probably find one of these. It was right here. See, that was a mobile. I pulled this property up on Lake Forest Drive from my mobile phone, but everything stays in sync. So now that I'm logged into my personal desktop or laptop computer, it's showing up right here. These properties that I pulled up here on my desktop would be available on my mobile phone. So if you haven't downloaded the mobile app, I'm telling you what, it's like your MLS on steroids. It's one of the greatest tools that's out there. And we have some webinars we've done on the mobile app, and I have some I've recorded and done on my website. And I'll show you that here in just a little bit. So everybody's with me. We're going to do most of our work right here on this main little toolbar. Notice we have all properties. We have properties that are for sale. We have for lease. So if you're MLS, you have for leases in your area, they're being reported. You can even look for lease information right there. We can do some neighborhood reports. I'm going to show you some great things you can do with neighborhood reports. You can search for schools, and you can search market activity. This is really cool here. Now, I told you I had my real estate license since I was 18 in 1978. I actually got into business. We had no MLS. And then I'm from a small board. We had an MLS. It was a 3-ring binder. And every 2 weeks we got new listings. You know, everybody, that was the exciting thing when you got our new 3-ring binder update. You had to go through and make all these changes by hand. And then, of course, we went to the computer where it dialed up and made that awful noise and sound. And we actually, I remember, had some DOS commands. But one of the really cool things we had, and I always loved, was a hot sheet when we had the fax machine. And every morning when I would come into work, the hot sheet would be there, and it would have all the new listings and all the solds and the price reductions. And oh man, we made a copy of the hot sheet and put that in everybody's mailbox, and that's how you knew what was going on in the in your marketplace. Well, you can do that today. So under market activity, I can uncheck all or I can show all, and I can go in and do Farmington, Missouri, which is where I'm from. So I'm just going to type in, auto-populates, it knows what I'm looking for. And look, right here, I could say, I just really want to see what's going on in the last 3 days. And now I can do a search, and I'm actually doing a search on what's happened in the last 3 days in my marketplace. And if I want to get really cool, I can select create a report. Notice market activity is already selected. I can run the report, and when this saves and it's ready, I'll just put it in my Dropbox, and I can pull it up on my iPad, and I can sit in my lazy boy chair and go through the last week or the last 7 days or the last month or the last 3 days and actually look at the hot sheet. So again, I told you I use the home screen a lot, but that's your market activity, and you've got choices to go back a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months. I wish they made a customized feature there so you could pick your dates, but we don't have that. The other thing that's really cool here with market activity, notice I'm going to uncheck all of these. Now I just want to look at new distressed, and let's just say I want to go into Jefferson County, which is a county that's next to me. And oh, I forgot there's a lot of Jefferson counties, so we'll put Jefferson County, Missouri, right there. And now I'm going to go back and I want to just look for the last month, and notice I've just have distressed. So now I'm searching in Jefferson, and I can do this by city or county or whatever. And hopefully we don't see any because, you know, you hate the pre-foreclosures. But I'm going back and I'm looking back 30 days and I'm looking for pre-foreclosures. Now there's 26 properties in Jefferson County. Notice if I go into one of these properties, I can get lots of information. Remember, so here's that confidence score. Here's the property that's in pre-foreclosure. If I come down here to the bottom, I should have all of there's the mortgage records right here. I can see where their loan's at, tax information, deed records, everything's right there. And if I come over to the history tab, I can actually look at the pre-foreclosure distressed information. So right here, I can see who the trustee is. I can see that all this information right here, some of the information. So again, this market activity allows you to really get specific. If you want to search for just pendings in your marketplace, if you want to search for price changes, if you want to do an expired search because you want to try to pull up some expireds, you could do that as well. Or you can look at everything and just pull up a hot sheet. So that's our market activity. Now, I want to come over here to the all properties, two items that I use a lot, and they're all properties and properties for sale. All properties, and I sometimes annotate this with my pen, but I'm just going to kind of go past that. So if you'll just bear with me and if you'll make a note or understand that all properties, I usually draw a line up and I put a big C for courthouse. Because all properties, it's kind of like you're tapped into the public courthouse, and we really are. I mean, I just pulled up those pre-foreclosures. If there's an attorney who's filing a motion or who's beginning the foreclosure process today in your county, that pre-foreclosure will show up tomorrow in RPR. Remember I said we have over 350 or 60 pieces of information or data that's being funneled right into this one database. So your all properties is kind of like the county courthouse. When you go to for sale, I normally draw a line up and put an M for your MLS because for sale is really mirroring what's in your MLS. Now, all properties will pull up properties that are also in the MLS, but if there's a property, for example, occasionally I have people who come to me, I'm trying to think recently, but a year or so ago, I had some folks who came and wanted to list their mom and dad's house. Now, I knew these people, had known them for years. In fact, Billy and I share a birthday on the same day, and Billy and I used to alternate birthday parties from his house to my house. I knew the house, very familiar with it, knew his mom and dad my whole life. And his mother and father lived in that home as long as I knew Billy and his family. I mean, they just lived there. Kind of like my mom and dad. They lived in their house for years until my mom and dad went into a condo, and then my mother went into an assisted living after my father passed away. But Billy's mom and dad lived in that home, and then Billy's mother, like my mother, unfortunately, they never made this step into a condo. Mr. Billy's dad passed away, and his mother then moved to Texas to be near his sister, Billy's sister, her daughter, and Billy and the kids were going to sell the house. So they called me up and said, John, we want you to come out and list Mom's house. Now, I've had my real estate license 40 years this year, since 1978, the age of 18. I never saw Billy's mom and dad's home ever in our MLS. I would have known that. I would have been having a pity party, right? Billy's mom and dad listed their house with somebody else. It never was in the MLS. Billy's mom and dad lived in that home their whole life till she went in the nursing home. They call me up and they said, John, we want to list Mom's house. So I go to All Properties, because remember, All Properties is like you're plugged into the county courthouse. And I just typed in the address of the property. Now, notice what will happen. It's looking in the database. I can't remember exactly if that was 700 or 701. And some of this, it may have been W period Main Street. But a lot of times this will auto-populate out. But if not, it's no big deal. My computer may be thinking. And so I'm going to just select search. I can't remember if it was 700 or 702, but we'll pull up whatever 700 West Main Street is, because there's, remember, 166 million parcels of property. And so here are all of the properties. And actually, this is the house across the street right here that sold. And I'm looking for Billy's mom and dad's, and it's down here somewhere. And here's another house on that street. But I can also go into the map and I could pull the house up right. Actually, this is the house right here, I think. Let's see. And so I pulled up, what I wanted you to see was I was able to pull up Billy's mom and dad's house, and RPR even gave me a suggested list price. Now, I can't rely on that price as being, the gospel because it's a computer saying, John, based on this address, this size home, what's going on in the market, we think, or I think, as a computer, the house is worth this much money. That's what a estimate is. It's just a computer trying to pick a value. But you and I both know sometimes we go out to a home and it's like we walk in the front door and we're saying, whoa, and that could be good or bad, right? It could be, whoa, they're going to have to do a lot of cleaning and picking up in here before I can put a sign out front. Or we could say, wow, I can't believe how nice this house is. See, we get to use our experience, our knowledge of the marketplace, and our physical inspection, and we're going to refine and fine-tune that property. Okay, so just understand All Properties, even if a property's never been listed in the MLS, you can pull it right up in RPR, and RPR will even give you an idea what a ballpark, what the price might be. Now, we've got more work to do, but we can use that in that respect. We can also search not only by, as you just saw, not only by address. I can search by city. So if I'm searching Farmington, Missouri, now notice it auto-populates, so I can come down and find my Farmington, Missouri here. I can also search by county. So if I search by county, I can also search by zip code. So as I put these in, it's pulling up some zip codes for me. That's 6364. I can search by a tax ID number, and I even have this advanced search option. So a lot of times I'll be doing a live presentation, and I'll have somebody that tries to pull their property up, and they come to me at break or afterwards and say, I tried to pull my property up in RPR and I couldn't find it. And they have something like HCR, and you'll notice this will, like HCR-1, this box number. And if they don't put it in correctly, it's very difficult to find. So what I recommend you doing, if it's a strange rural route address, is just go to the Advanced tab and then put the owner's name in, the last name. And normally it always pulls it up. So don't forget, when you're searching all properties, you have this ability to search by the owner's last name. Now you can also search under advanced properties for keywords, which is pretty cool. So if you're looking for something that has a fireplace, we can add that, and then I can go up here and type in Farmington, Missouri. And notice at this time, I'm going to select search, searching all properties, and it's looking for anything that has a fireplace in as keywords. Now, so there's 146 properties that have fireplace, and I can list up to 6 properties with that. So don't forget your advanced search. Don't forget that you can search by price ranges, keyword search, living, lots of very available choices. If you just want to search for condos and you want to search, uncheck everything and then say, I'm just really looking for a condo and they want a fireplace and they want 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, all of that's available. You can do that with no problem. And then you can always clear your search right here. So from the main screen, don't forget all properties. You can search properties for sale. Anytime you search all properties, it's going to be a huge number because remember, it's searching the county courthouse. When you're searching just for sale in your community, it's going to be a much lower number because we're just searching or mirroring the MLS. Now, I pulled up a search for Farmington, Missouri, 202 properties. There's some really cool things, though, I can do right on the fly. And along the left-hand side of your screen, notice if I wanted to come down and say, I want to get rid of the pending, I just hit apply, and now I'm down to 175 listings. If I say I really just want to look at foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, are there any pre-foreclosures in the marketplace? There's one right here. It's with Fannie Mae, and it's not pending. So now I've immediately gone to that. So don't forget, on the left-hand side, you also have this ability to refine your search, make changes to your search. You can even add keywords right up here. And by the way, when you add a keyword, it's looking through the whole MLS data, so pretty cool feature. But you always have that ability to make changes on the fly and just apply, and it will go out and pull those records right up for you. So now, as I have the records here, notice I can look at these 10, 20, 50, or 100 on my screen. I usually keep it at 10, and I can sort these. So if I want to sort by days in RPR, if I want to search by most expensive or least expensive, I've got various choices. I chose recently updated, and I looked at some properties here. And so now I clicked on 407 Park Street, Farmington, and we've pulled this up. Notice it is a sale pending. Notice that the list price was $159 right here. And notice the RVM for this property is $154,850. Was last updated December 5th. The RVM gets updated every month. It also tells me right here the RVM has gone down the last month by $130. And over the last 12 months, it looks like it's pretty much stayed the same. It's telling me that it has a 5-star confidence rating right here. If you say, what's that 5-star stand for? If you put your mouse over the little eye, a little pop-up comes up. It gives you the explanation. I can also go into the bigger map over here on the right. And when I go into the bigger map, I can see this property and I can see all of the other homes in the neighborhood. In fact, if I want to do a Google view and look at this from a Google view, I can do that. I can zoom out so that I can see a little bit more of the neighborhood. And a lot of times I leave it on the road view because it just makes it easier, because here's my subject property that is pending, right? Here's a house that's for sale, block over. There's a house that's sold. See how I'm able to really get into a conversation now with my sellers by using RPR at their property? Here's an example of a home that sold for $139. Now, I've been in situations where owners have told me, on a listing presentation, our neighbor down the street sold their house for X number of dollars. If they can sell their home for that much, we ought to be able to get X number of dollars for ours. And I pull this up and I say, oh, this house right here, and they'll say, yeah, that's the house. And I'll say, it looks like that sold for 139.9. And they all of a sudden get a wake-up call that, you know, really, we thought they sold that for a lot higher than that. Well, I pulled that property up for them right there, and I'm able to go into that. The other thing about the bigger map that you're going to love, and I use it a lot, is it has what are called heat maps. And one of the maps I love to use is this 12-month change in property values. And so now it's giving me a visual description. Remember that $100 bill presentation I told you about? Well, you know, sometimes, and I don't know if you have people like this in your marketplace, this could just be specific to my marketplace in Southeast Missouri. But do you ever have people that when you give them a price of what you think their house is worth, they get mad at you? Again, I don't know if that's, I'm sure that happens where you are too, right? I had a lady that got a little bit upset with me because I told her her house was worth a certain amount. And it was kind of like that movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when John Candy and Steve Martin were driving down the highway and the people were yelling at them, "You're going the wrong way." Uh, this lady's price went the wrong way. She had bought it the year before, and I'm telling her it's worth less money. Well, you know, the market had dropped. When I pulled this map up, this almost looks like a weather map, doesn't it? Her house was right in the middle of a big red thunderstorm. Now, what does that mean? Red means property values have declined over the last 12 months. And if it's a deep dark red, that's even worse, right? Lighter blue to darker blue means prices have increased over the last 12 months. When she saw this visual and she saw where her house was at in the middle of this huge red thunderstorm in Park Hills, Missouri, at that particular time of the market, she understood what I was talking about. And, you know, I was able to explain to her it's not your house specifically, it's what's going on in the marketplace. So you've got lots of heat maps that you can tell visuals and explain, and everything's footnoted. You know, if I wanted to look at this is the FEMA flood map, and you say, the flood zones, where do you get that? Everything's footnoted in RPR. They'll always tell you where they're pulling the data. So I've got that data right here. So use the heat maps. There's some cool things you can do there. You can change these at any time on the fly. And then if you want to know what they mean, it's just right here down below. It gives you the visual explanation. And again, tells you where they get the data, how often it's updated, and more information. Now, the other thing that I can do right here, I'm going to change that to none, is if I go into the bigger map, I've got some really cool things that I can draw shapes and boxes and just some really neat things. I can also look at, if I wanted to look at school districts, I can take a look at school districts. If I want to look at zip codes, cities, townships, and notice as I zoom in closer, the geographies will go away because we're tightening in our zoom on everything. But as I zoom out, I start to have more choices and more abilities that I can research my area. If I want to, do a drive time, I can put a pin on the map, and I can do this by car or walking. If you're in an area where people like to walk, I can do it by the day of the week, and I can do it by how how quickly they want to be able to walk or drive to that specific destination. You can also use a map for distance. I had a fireman who had to live within 5 miles of the fire station, and so now I can search properties within that 5 miles by locating the fire station and putting that into the pin. So don't forget that you have some really great abilities there. And you also have this really cool feature called POIs. So if you want to actually show people where banks and schools and different things are on the map, you can do that as well. Very easy to do that. Just kind of keep that in mind that you have that. Now I want to show you something here that I use, and I think it's kind of neat, and we're going to step out in some kind of deep water, so just watch this. If you want to farm an area and you say, you know, I would love to own that subdivision. I mean, every time a house goes up in that subdivision, it sells. And I want to get some listings in that subdivision. And you come in here to your map and I say, it's this John David right back here. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to do a polygon. And I'm going to start right here on KREI, because it's the KREI. And I'm going to come back here to John David. And I'm drawing my little map around John David subdivision. This is an area that I should be farming. My daughter and I are got a couple areas we're working on right now. So now I'm coming up here to Colony Church Road, and then you come along Burks Road and right through there. And I'm telling you what, it's a great area. So what I'm going to do, I could search this area. I can also edit if I need to pull something out. But I want you to hit save, okay? And I'm going to call this John David subdivision. And I'm going to select OK. And now I've saved John David subdivision. So watch this. Let's go to the home screen. And let's go over to the left. We've got a little area that right here called saved. See this? And if I scroll down, look right there, John David subdivision, my newly created mapped area. And if I select search, I'm now going to pull up everything that's in that area. It's a pretty good area. I mean, things do really well. Now I've got this by recently updated. We could do a search, search that as well. But when you get a listing over in this area, it sells. Great area. Now, if you were trying to farm this area by sending these people postcards or letters or going door to door, we could go up here and select Create a Report. And right down here, we have Market Activity Report, right, for this subdivision. If I go into more details, I can, put all of the things that I want to have in here. I can check any of these. And now I want to go back, and I want to go back. There's 10 per slide, and I want to go back for let's say we're going to do this monthly. You could do it however often you want. And I'm going to, I just want to download the report, so I'm going to select Run Report. Now I can go on and work in RPR, and when it's done, it will give me this information. So visualize with me for a moment. We're going to have this really cool report that we can put on our website, and then we can send postcards to everyone in the subdivision that we are farming to say, would you like to know what's going on in your subdivision? Go to mayfieldre.com/John David. And when they do that, they will go right to a little page that you're going to create. So I'm going to just take you out here to my page, and I'm going to show you a little thing I'm doing on neighborhood reports. And if we go to market reports, this is the market report we did earlier, we're going to do here in a minute. So when they go to mayfieldre.com, they go to your website /John David, boom, they come right here, they pick up, they click on it, and now you have this really cool interactive map showing them what is going on in their marketplace. And so let me get this right here. So now I have this 3D map or report about their subdivision, and I've used all of that from RPR, and it was absolutely free for me to do by using because I drew that subdivision around that. So, you've got lots of information. I'm going to go back to the summary tab real quick here on 407 Park, and I just kind of wanted to show you, when you go into that mapping, bigger map, there's tons of stuff you can do, and I'm just scratching the surface. So we can scroll down and look, I can see pictures of the property. I can even come down here and I can go into comparing historical records. So I've seen this property now that's for sale, and I also see the property back in 2004 when it was in the MLS. I can look at pictures if they're available. I can look at all of the data that's here. I can even look at who the listing agent is. I can see right here, which is kind of interesting, that it went active in July. It was active again. It must have renewed it in September, and it went contingent in October, still showing. Here I can see this house sold back in 2004 for $90,000. So lots of information as you scroll down through. You can add notes to the property. Look at this. I've got all of the homeowners' information. I've even got their name here. I scroll on down. I've got information. I can add information. And what I add to RPR stays in my RPR. So if someone else in my marketplace is working on this listing, they're not going to see what I add, neither will I see what they're adding. This is a great little chart here. Normally, I get my most use by unchecking the county and the Missouri. And look, now I can actually show a potential buyer or a seller where their property is in relation to the median estimated home value. Sometimes I'll have a seller's value up here and my median estimated values down here, and I need to really let the seller understand, you don't be discouraged or upset if I'm not showing your house a lot, because look at the marketplace. The median price is down here and your value's way up here. Of course, I have school information. I've got price change information, listing. I've got walkability scores. I've got the legal description, the tax information, all of that's right on page 1. And then you go over to page 2, you've got all this history data. This is a great chart that shows, a lot of times will show you some motivation of the seller. Prior sales transactions. Notice public records is not showing anything, but when I go into listing records, I get that prior sales information from 2004. I'm here to tell you, when I'm using, I use RPR 95% of the time today. If I want to pull a property up I'm doing a CMA on, I just pull the property up in RPR, go to the history tab, and select prior transactions, listing records, and I'm looking at, I want to know, has this house been on the market before? Has it sold? I've got tax information here. I can scroll down and sometimes you'll see mortgage data and records that are available. So lots of information there. I have charts. I don't go over all of these charts, but occasionally you might find a chart you want to use. And then I go into the refined value. And here's where you can really set yourself apart from the competition. Dale Carnegie said you can win more friends in 2 months by showing that you have an interest in them than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. Now, I tell a story, and I don't have time, but if you'll just kind of work with me and understand that when I went to work for the bank and I found out they were on the watch list, and I ended up unemployed and I had a non-compete clause. My wife and I owned a pick-your-own blueberry blackberry farm, and we had a late spring freeze that same year, lost our entire crop. If you can imagine being $1 million in debt with no income, and the only thing you've ever done is sold real estate since you were 18, and you don't even have the right to do that in your local marketplace from a small community, you can kind of start to draw a picture of what's going on. But we owned some rental properties. We sold most of the stuff we had, and at the end of the day, it was just stuff, right? But we did have this one house that we live in today. Was the worst kid on the block. It was a great neighborhood, but the house was needed a lot of work. And so my wife and I, our renters moved out. We moved back in and cleaned it and started doing the best we could. And, I've slowly put that house back together, and it's a great home and it's a great neighborhood, and we love our little home. But you know what? It took a while for us to do all of that stuff. And I remember I was showing some people around our house, and I was showing them all the things we'd done. You know, we put new trim and new interior doors, and we had to pay cash for everything. I mean, you know, I went through some challenging times, and nobody wanted to touch me financially. I felt like I had this thing tattooed on my forehead that said, "Stay away from John." And so we had to pay cash for everything. And it took a while to do all of this stuff and to pay off all the other stuff we had to pay off. And I remember showing this person through our house, and I'm going through, and it was like this voice said to me, "John Mayfield, shame on you." And I mean, I was like, I had a wake up call, because I thought, how many times do people, when I go on a listing appointment, do people tell me about all the great things they've done to their home? And unfortunately, I guess I kind of just blew them off, you know? I didn't take it that seriously, like, big deal, you put new windows in your house. That is a big deal. Well, look at what RPR allows you to do. And I'm here to tell you, when I work with people and I go over this with them, I can ask them about a home improvement, and they get engaged with me. When I tell me about what you've done to your home, or, hey, I noticed you did I remember this one couple, and I said, I noticed you remodeled your bathroom. You said you did that. And she said, we did that in June. I never will forget this, not too long ago. And it was 2016. And she said, we spent $4,000. And I selected add. And guess what? I just added, I added 2018. It was 2016. And when you select add, it gave them $1,600 in value. And I could see the excitement in their eyes. And what I'm just here to tell you is this. I think if you really want to take your game to a new level in 2018, number one, use RPR, because it's helped me close more deals. But number two, use this little page right here, Refine Value, to really ask them what they've done to their home. Because, you know, it shows you have an interest in what they've done, and it shows you're giving them value for those improvements, and it really can set you apart from the competition. You can even do the reverse. If it needs a new roof and the roof's going to cost $20,000, you can add that and it'll pull that away from the property as well. And at any time, you can always restore everything back to the original. So again, what you do in RPR stays in your RPR. And remember, I said you get to use your experience, your knowledge of the marketplace. So now I can adjust the marketplace and I get to use my physical inspection of the property. If it needs some repairs, or if it's very nice, I can move these sliders over and look what's happening. It's adjusting the price based on my physical inspection of the property. So now I can make these adjustments. And then from that point, I just go over to comp analysis. And here, I'm just going to confirm the facts. It's very quick. I'm going to confirm the facts. I'm going to jump over here now, and I'm going to find comps. Now, I would just leave this alone, but understand you can change this. You could go back longer than 6 months. You could do a date range. You can zoom out if you want to get more properties. But RPR is really looking through the eyes of an appraiser, what an appraiser has to look at. And so I noticed I didn't change anything. I've got lots of good comps that I can pull. And I just add the comps I want to add. Now I'm just quickly adding a few here, but you would painstakingly go through, pull the ones that look comparable. I'm going to throw a few for sales in there, and then I can go on down here and probably find a pending. Notice it's the star, so it was used in the RVM, and now I update the valuation and close. And at this point, I can adjust my comps. So we're just 5 steps. And so now I can say, you know, I'm familiar with this house. It's a lot nicer than my subject property. This house is a lot nicer. Gosh, this one's right. This is the house that's 2 doors down. It's not very far down. You know, that's my comp I want to talk to them about. I'm just going to move it over in the first position. And now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to add a note or a talking point. And because what I do is I take my a report, put it into a PDF document, pull it up on my iPad, and I'm using my Apple iPad Pro with my Apple Pencil, and I'm highlighting and circling and really drawing in on some points because I like for the folks to see this visually, and I want to point out certain things. Like I may know something about this property that's just down the street, and what I'm going to do on my iPad is highlight that so that when I email them this report, they've got all of my notes and all of my information. So now I just go through, make my notes, make my adjustments, and then when I'm done, I update the valuation. And the last step is I can leave the numbers RPR has, or if I want to put my own numbers in here, I can do that as well. And so now I save this, and the last part is to create a report. Now it's about an 85-page report, although you can go in, you want to, uncheck pages. If you've ever read the book, The Tipping Point from Malcolm Gladwell, you will know that I would leave all 85 pages in that, and I would have it on my computer or my iPad, go over it, and then I use my mobile phone because I pull it up. Remember, all my saved stuff's in sync with my mobile phone, and I just email them a copy from my mobile phone, and they can print out the 85 pages. But why do I do that? And I don't go over all 85 pages with the folks. I mean, I'm just going over a few things in my report. I do that because, as Malcolm Gladwell points out in The Tipping Point, there's this thing called the law of fundamental attribution error. And it basically means perception is reality. If I'm giving them an 85-page report with graphs and charts and lots of data, and my competitor goes in with 2 or 3 pages from the MLS, what does the consumer think? Is it a dollar bill message or is it a $100 bill message? So lots of different reports you can do. And by the way, here's something really cool. If you've got some designations, like, I'm with ABR. Notice I've got some reports. Here's one, the advantages of buying versus renting. Here's one, 10 steps how to make a successful relocation move. And I've downloaded those to my computer. Look at this right here. I've got this manage custom pages. I can go and add, let's just say I'm working with a buyer and I want to add that 10 things. I just downloaded this a minute ago. So is this the advantages of buying? This is the one I want. I think it was this one here, 10 steps. So let's just say I've got some people who are relocating and I want to include this with my report. I'm an ABR. I've got this really cool one-page consumer flyer. I've now put that up in the beginning. I'm just going to call that 10 steps for relocation. And now I can put that at the beginning or the end of the report. And I'll save this. I could add some other pages. And now when I print this out, that really cool report that I have from, was this one right here, is going to be at the beginning of my report. So you can put your resume there, you can add anything you want, and I'm telling you the reports are really awesome. Here's our John David's subdivision report with all of the information and what's going on. So now when I've got my report ready, I run the report. I normally never email the report in advance unless they live out of the area, and we're having to do everything online. So again, those reports are all going to stay right here in recent reports, recent searches for up to 30 days. I've got access to them on my phone. Notice I can go into neighborhoods, and there's some really cool neighborhood stuff we can do here. So I'm going to go right here to the neighborhood. So I've got a summary of the neighborhood. I've got the housing information. I've got information about people. I've got information about economy, and I've got information about quality of life. And if at any time, I use this little program called Snagit, which is really cool because a lot of us have Facebook pages or we want to do social media. With Snagit, I can come in here and I can snag a really cool graphic, and now I can take this graphic right here that just came up, and I can actually go in and doctor it up to get rid of that. And then I can share that through my Facebook, Twitter. I can make an Instagram post out of it. And so there's lots of charts and graphs that I can keep my social media feed updated, and just some really cool information. Again, over 360 plus pieces of data that's coming right in to RPR. So, I mean, there's a lot of really great stuff that you can use with RPR. I want to just come back to the home screen. I want to point out a couple of quick things. Number one, don't forget to download the mobile app. It's awesome. Don't forget that if you come down here to the bottom at where it's called blog, you can actually go into RPR, and this is where you can find out testimonials, you can watch videos, you can drill down by industry segments, you can look at resources, just a ton of information that's available for you. So now, if you want to watch this webinar, I'm going to put it at businesstechguy.com/RPR. So when you come to my website, if you need to contact me, there's my information. Come down here to resources, RPR, right there, and give me just a little bit of time. We'll get it uploaded. I've got a bunch of webinars that I do for RPR. I love RPR. It's a great program, but you can rewatch the webinar right here. And I really mean that. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'd be glad to help you in any way. Like I said, there's no charge unless you call me every day, and then I may have to charge you. But I think it's a great tool. And I want you to have a great 2018, and I want you to deliver a $100 bill message, not a dollar bill message. So thank you so much. You've been a great group. We are at 102 and Central Standard Time, so I know you've got things to do, and I hope you can go out and get a new listing today. You've been a great group, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.